Forced to ask ourselves, what's going on? What's going on here? What on earth is going on, or what's going on here on earth? So I don't have enough time to go into all the challenges we've already been facing this year in 2020, but let's start off with something good. So what's going on here on earth? Well, we've developed the capability to send things into space back in 1976, in fact. It was the first time that rovers landed on Mars. But this year, for the first time, we're sending 3 rovers. So Europe and Russia are sending a rover to Mars in collaboration. China is sending a rover to Mars. NASA is also sending a rover to Mars. So things are heating up on Mars in terms of rovers. And a question I love to ask kids, but also adults, is do you believe in aliens? And people mostly laugh, or smile at least. However, this is the question these rovers are going to investigate. So it may sound amusing when you're asked in public to answer that question, of whether you believe in aliens or not, but actually billions and billions of dollars is being invested into asking that very fundamental question. When we look up at the night sky, are we alone? Are there other living things out there? And in particular, was there ever life on Mars? Because we know Mars had oceans. So it's really not an extreme point of view to have that in those oceans 4 billion years ago there could have been life. And are these rovers going to be able to detect some kind of microbial fossil that will tell us there was in fact life on Mars perhaps billions of years ago, and perhaps some of the life is still there under the surface? We've had Elon Musk tweeting this January his announcement of plans to have a city on Mars of 1 million people by 2050. So this is a bold statement, but one not without backup, because Elon Musk has, of course, made a lot of money and invested a lot of that into a company called SpaceX, which is pioneering multiple milestones in the aerospace industry to get to this goal. So back in 1969, Earth Overshoot Day was at the end of December. What is Earth Overshoot Day? You can read it on the website, but it's basically telling us how much we are using Earth's resources compared to how long Earth takes to replenish these resources. So basically we're in the red. It's like when you switch to your credit card. In April 22nd in the year, we're already in the red. We're in debt to Earth in terms of the resources we're consuming compared to the time we're allowing Earth to rejuvenate itself. What I assume is that these statements are mostly acceptable as true to people. So let's go through them, and hopefully by the end you will agree with me that the voyage to Mars is going to trigger important developments in evolution and thinking and in technology. Technology is developing rapidly. You can think of an app and then find someone already made it. You can think of an upgrade you want on your phone and the next time it's there. So things are moving rapidly. That's an opportunity as well as a potential danger. But an opportunity in that Mars is within reach, right? 3 rovers are going there this year. It will be 50 years that we've been sending rovers to Mars in 2026. So we've been doing that for a while. So Mars, in terms of people getting there, is really within reach, particularly considering we could get humans to the moon in the 60s. So Mars is within reach. However, the industry behind not only space, but all of the devices that we love so much and find so indispensable, the industry behind that development is having an impact on our environment. And for the first time in human history, it's having a global impact, an impact that we can see from space, an impact that we can measure on an Earth planetary scale. So yes, we're having an impact on our environment, and we have to acknowledge many of us already live in extreme conditions. Extreme conditions, i.e. lack of access to clean water, lack of access to nutritious food, lack of access to adequate shelter, lack of access to electricity, health, etc. Okay, many of us already live in extreme conditions. Earlier, with Earth's oceans evaporated, this is actually what happened to our 2 next door neighbor planets. Venus once had oceans. Now it's 500 degrees Celsius on the surface of Venus. Of course, there are no oceans, water evaporates. Mars used to have oceans. Now it doesn't. It's -60. The water has also sublimated and escaped the planet. Our planet is a relative Eden, right? Liquid water, abundant life, plants grow by themselves, we can breathe the air. So we need to learn resource management on Earth, because we've kind of made a mess of it until now, but also if we plan to explore beyond Earth, we need to get used to managing our resources far more efficiently than we've done until now. And extreme environments are a great place to learn. So what I'm going to argue here is that the technologies we need, whatever planet we're on, include access to power, access to clean water, access to food, access to data, and getting to Mars and demonstrating that we can live in a resource-efficient way in such a harsh environment as Mars will not only trigger developments in technology towards that goal. We know how much of the space industry has inspired new technologies back on Earth because of the amazing challenges that are faced in extreme environments. However, importantly, at the same time, we are not going to space to create an even more elite class of people who now live on more than one planet, as maybe people who live in more than one city. No, we are developing technologies that cater for humans to provide power, water, food, communication systems, whatever planet we're on, because you can solve both of these challenges at the same time. So Mars is far away, 200 million kilometers away, so it is a challenging thing to get there, never mind living there. Happily, SpaceX, so Elon Musk's company SpaceX, is working on the transport system to get the first humans there. So we're assuming that he's going to do a good job of that, and we're assuming the transport system will be constructed. 200 million kilometers is a long way away, so if, for example, it takes a WhatsApp message traveling at the speed of light 10 minutes to go from Earth to Mars. That's not because of lack of service providers or power cuts or anything like that. That's because light does not travel at an infinite speed. It travels at a finite speed, and it's 200 million kilometers. It takes 10 minutes. So that's pretty far away. But getting there, we're going to leave that to Elon, and we're going to assume that our 50-year tradition of landing stuff on Mars will put us in good stead to land there safely. But what's next? And that's the challenge that I'm talking about now, which is how do we survive in extreme environments? Mars is pretty extreme. If we want to learn really fast how to live in areas that are suffering lowered rainfall, where agricultural communities are no longer able to function well Mars is a pretty extreme place to start. If we can get it right there, rolling out analogous technologies on Earth, it's not going to be difficult. So average temperature, low, -63. For South Africans that sounds horrific, but of course there are people in Siberia and Iceland, etc., who do survive and thrive in conditions like that through the winter. So it's probably the atmosphere that's going to be the trickiest part, because not only does it have no oxygen in it, 95% carbon dioxide, we should think resource, what are we going to use that for? And the gravity, maybe that's the funnest part. So if you can lift up one of your friends on Earth, you can lift up 3 at the same time on Mars, 38%. You can jump this high on Earth, you can jump 3 times as high on Mars, etc. So lots of fun and easier construction. 38% gravity, yeah, maybe the fun part. But for the rest, we're gonna need people, and we're gonna need brave people.